Remember I did a video recently about being new to the gym and not being nervous about when you go in. And I said most people in the gym don't even know what they're doing anyway. So don't let someone judge you. And most people who do know what they're doing, who are decent, will offer advice. And, you know, as long as you do it at the end of the session, you can ask them for advice. So this is about, similar to when I said the video with the guys, and I said, you know, you get people give bad advice in the gym. So lately there's a guy, and he's very well known from like my areas, and I've known him since, like, he's been around since I was a kid. So he's in his 50s, and he's been training since he was like 14, 15. And he was vastly overweight as a teenager, even more overweight as a man, even more overweight in elderly, you know, later on in life. Result-wise in the gym, pretty much nothing. But the scary part about him is he's known, like, with people like us who train and take it serious, he's known as, fuck, it's that idiot Ian again, you know, that little clown who comes around. Unfortunately for some people, though, like when you're brand new to the gym, he will do what I call, he goes to like pure gyms and snap fitnesses, the chain gyms, you know, like JD, and he will find someone, could be a man, could be a woman, could be a young kid, someone who's new to the gym, and he clings on to these people to offer his advice. Now, the issue is his advice is terrible. You're talking about a guy who's never done anything, but he's extremely arrogant is the thing. Like, he'll go, oh, I'm one of the strongest, you know, you don't see people as strong as me, and he'll really start, like, going up. So it puts a lot of people off when they're new to the gym. For strength-wise, he's benching about 70 kilos. That's, like, his best bench ever. I think he's done like a 60-kilo squat. It's just like, I'm not making fun of someone, but it's just like, but you can't teach him anything. But a funny story that'll give a lot of people a bit of amusement is, he literally, I'll see him go up, and he'll go up to like 16, 17-year-olds doing the gym, and he'll be like, yeah, you should do this, don't curl all the way down, just do this. And I'll just give them all these like terrible advice and put them in dangerous positions. And he'll do it to like older women, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. And he just puts people off it when they're going to the gym. But the funny story is, basically, recently, he, for the first time as ever, he got in touch with me. I hadn't spoke to this guy in like 8 or 9 years, can't really stand him. But he spoke to me, he's like, hey, I need to shape stuff up, blah, 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 blah. And he actually asked him for a bit of advice, which really shocked me, because he'd been like, when I was a kid, he was an arrogant little dickhead. So I was like, yeah, okay. So you're trying to help him, and he's like, no, you can't do that. So I realised really quickly he doesn't want help. And basically, he's lost about, it's probably the most he'd ever done. He shows me a picture where he's gone from being about 36% body fat. He's actually dropped to about 18, 19, but he's been stuck at this number, and, you know, it's probably about 18 to 20% body fat, if I'm honest. So he's not lean, but, you know, he's probably dropped about 20 pounds, which for him was a shock. So I said, yeah, so that's actually the best you've ever looked. I went, keep going. He goes, well, yeah, so do you think I'm doing good? He goes, can you give me some advice? And everything I gave him, so he goes, well, I did this with, and he just tells me these natural products. And I went, I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't bother with them. They're literally useless. You're just wasting your money. He's like, no. And I tell people they're surrounded with steroids. I said, well, you shouldn't be doing that because you're lying. They're not. You know, don't preach something that's not true. I said, the actual 20 pounds you've lost is probably just from your own hard work, if I'm honest. It's not from anything you've taken there. And he's like, no. And he goes, I'm 6 weeks out. So I said, 6 weeks out from what? So he goes, from being lean. I went, right. I said, I'm going to stop you right there, because it's pointless blowing smoke up someone's ass. I went, you look the best you've ever looked in these pictures you sent me. I said, but you're at least 18% body fat, and if I'm being honest, it's more than 20%. I said, you need to lose. I said, you're about, from being lean, I said, you're a good 25, 30 pounds from showing your abs. I said, you know, you're quite a few stone off, but no, I'm not. And he starts getting really angry. I said, his partner's getting angry. I said, you've asked me for a truthful opinion, you've sent these photos of you, and I've told you where you're at in your stages. So he goes, no, I'm 6 weeks out. I said, okay. I said, this photo of me, you told me it looked really good. And he goes, yeah. I said, this is a photo shoot, yeah? I said, I'm about 10, 12% body fat there. He goes, yeah. I said, okay, and you've just said how much leaner I am there than you. And he goes, I said, this is me. And I said, how much body fat do you think you are? And he goes, I think I'm about 8. I said, are you leaner than me there? And he goes, no. I said, okay. I said, here's me at around 7 or 8% body fat. Showed him a picture. I said, do you see the massive difference between the two of us there? And do you see the massive difference from me at 8% compared to 10 to 12? And he goes, what? Yeah. I said, okay. I said, now do you look at that? I said, you have no definition in any part of your arms. They are just flat and flabby, if we're honest. And your entire body's like that. So I showed him a few other people. I said, these are ripped, you're not. I said, now this is not me putting you off. I said, you're going in the right direction. You know, for the first time ever, I could say, you know, I'm a bit proud of you, but you need to stop looking at yourself through rose-tinted glasses. He gets up and he goes going, like this, arguing. It was literally, I mean, this is a grown man who's asked for a bit of advice, and I'm looking at him and he goes, I'm big, I'm ripped, I'm massive, like this. It's fucking weird. And I was like, but you're not. So he's like, I'm going to ask someone else. So he asks a female, you know, who goes to the gym, does a modelling, that's OnlyFans girl. So he asks this female, and she says, I think you're about 22, 24% body fat, I'm honest. Oh, this girl's a bitch then, he hates her. He's going on about how strong he is, how muscular. I said, mate, I said, look, I said, you're in your 50s now. I said, how old are you? He goes, I'm 54 or whatever. I went, mate. I said, you've been doing this since you were 14, 15. I said, it's about time you grow up and start taking a bit of advice and learning. I said, and you know, you've got to look. I said, I take advice from people. I try to learn all the time. I went, and you're not in any stage to be giving advice. You know, so he literally does a thing where he's like, yeah, he goes, I can see what you're all talking about, blah, blah. He goes, when I look at myself properly, I said, well, I said, the thing is, I said, I saw you, I think, in the town centre. I said, he goes, yeah, he goes, well, this isn't me now. When was this? And he goes, 3 years ago, these pictures I sent you on here. And he's wearing a big coat, so I went, right, okay. And I said, so I'm like, right, okay. So he's like, yeah, he goes, because these were from lockdown. And after lockdown, no one's got in shape. I said, well, I've done 6 photo shoots after lockdown. I said, I know a girl who's lost 10 stone after lockdown. So again, you're making an excuse. So he's like, no, I'm not. I said, how much do you weigh now? So he sends me this picture and he's put all the weight back on. He's about 34% body fat. He's huge. And I'm like, right, okay, so that's what's really under the jacket then. And he goes, yeah. I said, right. He goes, but I'll be back in 4 weeks. I'll have my abs out. And it's just like, man, you know, you try and help people, but there's just some people can't be helped. And he went back, blocked everyone. Blocked us and that, so it was quite funny because he had his little temper tantrum. But then he's in the gym today and he's like, to someone like this, there's this girl who's joined, and as soon as he heard the words, it's my first time in the gym, he goes up to her and he goes, she's going on about wanting to get a bigger bum and a bigger ass, and he goes up to her and he goes, you know what you need to do? Bicep curls. Yeah. So like when I say, be careful of you, because there's a lot of characters around, but there's a lot of people who are so fucked up in this industry, they'll just give bad advice to everyone.